And we're live. Welcome back to Japanning. This is interview number 3. This is the video series where we tour the world of Japanese food, one city and one guest at a time. My name is Hannah Etsko-Detlefsen, and I am really interested in the food of the Japanese diaspora. So I have asked very many interesting people to just have a conversation with me. And today we're going to talk to one of them, and it is Brittany from Matsuri Food Truck in Las Vegas. Welcome, Brittany.
Hi.
So Brittany, I found out about you through a Half Japanese Facebook group, and you were sharing information about your food truck, and you had been nominated for an award. And I wonder if you can just tell us a little bit about Matsuri.
Yeah, so Matsuri, we started last year. We are the only authentic Japanese food truck in the state of Nevada, based out of Vegas. We specialize in Japanese street and festival food. So bringing that nostalgia that everybody has, going to Matsuri, like being able to find those foods and getting the same vibe.
That's so exciting. It's such a like a unique take on a food truck. And I
Yeah.
will ask you more specifically about Matsuri, but with this video series, I'm doing a little bit of it called Cooking Up a Conversation. And basically what that is I will start this cooking timer, and we'll give you 5 minutes. And I have a standard 12 questions that I ask every interviewee. Within that 5 minutes, if you can answer all of the questions in the allotted time, then you will be the winner and I will be the loser, and I will have to take my punishment of drinking my whole beer. However, if I win and you are not able to finish answering all of the questions, you will have to drink. Do you have a drink prepared?
I do.
What do you have? So Brittany has Umeshu, which is, can you tell us a little bit about it?
So Umeshu is a traditional like plum wine, Japanese plum wine.
Which is usually drank in little cups, not straight out of the bottle. But
Right.
I admire
I'm ready. It's okay.
I was going to say, I admire your pluck. All right, so I'm going to set this to 5 minutes. There we go. Let's give you just a shade more. And question number 1, Brittany, where were you born?
I was born in Santa Barbara, California.
And number 2, where did you grow up?
So I grew up in that same area between Santa Barbara and just a little bit north in Lompoc, where like Vandenberg Air Force Base is.
Okay, and number 3, how long have you lived in Las Vegas?
I've lived in Vegas 9 years now, almost 10.
Wow, okay, so you've been there for a little while.
Yeah, local now.
Number 4, what is your family's connection to Japan?
So my grandfather, my father's side, and like that entire family is from Japan, and he immigrated here after World War II. So I am a Nisei, actually.
Okay, so then your dad is
Yes.
Japanese. Okay, and number 5, how do you describe your identity to people you've just met? If they ask, about your ethnicity or about how you identify yourself.
Oh, okay. So I guess first and foremost, I generally tend to identify as Japanese mostly. My mom is Mexican, and I don't really have the Mexican features, so I do tend to identify more with Japanese. I was very close to my grandfather, and then when he passed, that's when kind of that whole culture really just started getting absorbed. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And number 6, what are Japanese foods from your childhood that you crave or get nostalgic for?
Oh gosh, curry. 100%. Oh god, don't show me the timer. Definitely like curry rice.
Okay.
onigiri. I I didn't have much okonomiyaki, unfortunately, until later in life, but I definitely craved that a lot. That one, and then yakisoba.
Okay. So a couple of things that already are, linking you to your food truck.
Yes.
Number 7, what did you take to school in your obento box or your lunch box, and how did it compare with your classmates?
Okay. So if my mom made lunch, it was I had Mexican food, so burritos, chili verde burritos and stuff. If my dad packed my lunch, I would have California rolls. I would have like shoyu marinated onions on cream cheese with bread. And my classmates, before California rolls, Japanese food, really started picking up, would be like, what are you eating? It was a very breakfast clubby, like sushi kind of situation. Yeah, so, and then like having nori packed in also.
Yeah. Wow. Shoyu marinated onions on cream cheese on bread sounds amazing. I want to make that.
It was so good.
That sounds great. Okay. Moving on. Number 8, if I were to travel to Las Vegas as a tourist with no prior knowledge of the food scene, what would be the 3 most common Japanese dishes I would encounter?
Okay, in Vegas, 3 most common, ramen, number 1 for sure. All you can eat sushi, like number 2. And probably it's a tie between either yakiniku or curry.
Yakiniku is big. That's interesting. Okay, I'll ask you more about that later. Number 9, if you were to take me to eat in Las Vegas, what 3 Japanese dishes would you insist I order?
Okay, for me, chawanmushi, nasu miso.
Yeah.
Last one. So
Something that you think would be special to Vegas, I guess.
special to Vegas.
Or that would be really good.
Maybe like some sort of like Las Vegas themed sushi roll, I guess. Like that fusion. Yeah.
What would be in a Las Vegas themed sushi roll?
In typical Vegas fashion, right? It's big, it's glitzy, it's covered in all kinds of sauces and toppings.
Oh no!
No!
It's your turn to drink umeshu.
Okay.
I will.
Twisting my arm. Okay. All right. I'm not going to drink the whole bottle, so I'll just pour my.
You can pour yourself a shot.
Hi, kanpai.
Kanpai. Well done. Okay, so you were saying about sushi rolls in Las Vegas. What are they? What is a typical sushi roll in Las Vegas?
So at like the all-you-can-eat places and stuff, typical, it's huge. You can get rolls that are like, futomaki, like twice that size, and then it's just covered in like mountains of sauce and garlic sprouts and tempura, and like just like you look at it and you're like, how do I even start to eat this? I'm like,
it's kind of like go big or go home.
Right? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, question number 10. If you were to cook a Japanese meal for me at your home, what would you make?
Oh, especially in the fall right now, oyakodon.
Oyakodon. Oh, yeah, like comforting and warm.
Yes, it's my favorite.
And number 11, what do you think makes Las Vegas's Japanese food unique or different from Japanese food you could get in Japan?
So I think for that, we have so many amazing, talented Japanese chefs that, took an idea that maybe wouldn't have been very popular to Japanese locals and brought it here to Vegas to really, expand and do some fusion, and kind of put their own unique twist on it that is more accepted by like our culture here, with wanting to try the like Japanese Italian, Japanese French fusions. And also just the fact that like there aren't as many stigmas here, you know, as far as what you can do with food. You're not bound to doing it by tradition, by the authentic way. You can branch out and do your own thing. And so I think especially in Vegas, where you have so many different types of people constantly coming in and out, it's just a great place for Japanese chefs to come and really just open up
and be experimental. It sounds like there's a lot
yeah
of freedom to be able to, you know, jump off from those traditions and find new ones.
yeah
My last question, is there one dish that you think represents Las Vegas's Japanese food?
as a whole.
Mm-hmm. I know it's
Ramen.
a hard question. Ramen? Why would you say ramen?
So the ramen scene here in Vegas in the last 5 years, when we went from about 3 or 4 ramen shops to well over 100 now. They are popping up constantly and everywhere, and everybody knows now, you know, what ramen is, what tonkotsu ramen, miso ramen, shoyu, shio. So that I think is that, or like the all you can eat. But I think more traditionally, just doing ramen is probably.
Wow, that's not what I necessarily would have expected when I thought about Las Vegas. And
Yeah.
you know, yeah, and like I was also surprised to hear you say that yakiniku was such a big part of what you might find in
It's
a
definitely, yes, definitely getting more popular now. So, because like we have the Korean barbecue, right? So now the yakiniku is starting to really pick up.
on the heels of Korean barbecue's popularity.
Yes.
That's interesting. Okay. I also want to know, I guess my very final question always to this, we've now finished the lightning round, but is there anything you would want to modify or add to any of the answers that you've just given?
Hmm. I don't actually, I would like to say, now that you mention it, the Japanese dessert scene is starting
Oh,
to really boom here as well. We have a lot of amazing, like specifically Japanese pastry shops here, and they are
what kind of
amazing.
desserts would I be able to find in Vegas?
So there's a specific bakery that I like to go to. They do a yuzu panna cotta.
Oh,
They do like the coffee jelly with the espresso bean on top and everything.
yeah,
They do oh gosh, what is it called? The Mont Blanc cakes and everything.
yeah.
They make the Christmas cakes that we all love to get for the holidays. And it's just amazing. It's just all done with such like as aesthetically pleasing as, you know.
As you would find in Japan. I
Yeah.
I have another question. Like, is there a big Japanese community in Las Vegas?
Surprisingly, yes.
Yeah.
I was kind of aware of it before just because I was working in Japanese restaurants, but once I opened the truck, I really started to see just how large it is. Like we have Aki Matsuri that happens in the fall here, and it's thousands of people like coming to this, and like everyone's dressed in yukata or kimono, you know, and dancing, and it's so crazy to see just how big the Japanese population is here.
That's great. I can imagine that it must be so fun. Do you take your food truck to that autumn festival?
Yes. Last year was the first year that Aki Matsuri was on the Vegas Strip, and it was
Mhm.
our first year being open. So we were the only food truck that was there, and it was insane. It was so much fun. You know, they had the yagura and everybody dancing, so it just felt so real.
That's so great. And your food truck must have lended that real authentic festival vibe to the whole festival.
I hope.
So if I went, next year, maybe when we're allowed to all gather, what would I be able to get at Matsuri? What kind of food do you serve?
Um, So we do serve a lot of the traditional Matsuri foods. So okonomiyaki, yakisoba, takoyaki, taiyaki, and gyoza. We make karaage, and everything's made from scratch. So everything is made to order, fresh as soon as you order it. Those would be the typical
Yeah.
festival foods. And then also we do a couple of entrees that are not really traditional and that I've kind of put a spin on as well.
So what are those what kinds of spins have you put on the traditional food? I'd be interested to know.
So right now, since it's cooling down, we just started doing our ramen, like a spicy, creamy miso ramen. And that one is vegan based. So, and it comes with not the normal ramen toppings. I mean, it has like moyashi and everything on top, but then we also do like tofu age and everything.
Okay.
Aside from that, we do a Japanese style chimichanga that I was telling you about before.
Well, I want to know more about this. So I have to admit to you, Brittany, I've never eaten a chimichanga at all, much less a Japanese chimichanga. So can you walk me through what would a Mexican version be? And then what is your Matsuri food truck version?
So Mexican style chimichanga, it's basically you just make a burrito and it's going to be filled with like chili verde or some, whatever they're going to put inside. And then the tortilla is deep fried. And then it's
Is it
topped with,
all made and then the whole thing is deep fried?
yes.
Okay. Okay. And
And
the sauce elements and stuff are on the inside, or do you put
on the inside, and then after the fact, then they put like the guac and the sour cream and the cheese and everything on top also.
Okay.
Matsuri style chimichanga, we do furikake rice and then a sesame cabbage slaw. And then customers have the option to do our karaage, shrimp tempura, or tofu age if they're vegan. And then our house spicy mayo, and then it gets wrapped in the tortilla and deep fried and served.
Wow. That sounds amazing. And also like maybe I could only eat one a week.
Yes, it's very heavy. But yeah, they are very popular right now.
I'm sure they are. That sounds so delicious.
Thank you.
One of the things that I was interested in, opening up this festival themed food truck was kind of how did you come up with that concept anyway? How did you land on that concept? Because you said you're the only one in Nevada doing that style of food. And how did you decide that's what we want to do?
So for that, initially we were looking to do a brick and mortar. So the food truck is a good way to test out all of our recipes. But the food truck market is so saturated with, very similar types of food, the taco trucks and everything. So I'm classically trained Japanese style. So I did sushi at the beginning and have worked my way. So we wanted to do something that would be different, that would also, I guess, like kind of pay respect to the Japanese aspect of the culture. And there already weren't any Japanese food trucks in Vegas, aside from like hibachi, Benihana style.
Really?
Yeah. So, brainstorming, what can we do? Do we want to do sushi? Well, it gets to be like 120 in Vegas. Do we want to do sushi on a truck,
Yeah,
So then, well, why not festival themed, comfort food, Japanese style comfort food There's a lot of military families in Vegas who have lived in Japan and are looking for those same flavors. And so to bring something that can kind of give them comfort, for it. So.
And I guess what was people's reaction to it when if you're the only Japanese food cart and you're bringing this kind of not typical branded Japanese food, what was the reaction when you first opened?
So if I can brag for just a minute, our grand opening was everything I could have like hoped for. We had the local taiko group come and do their big opening and everything, so they like kind of walled everything off, and people were like, "What's going on?" Because we opened on Fremont Street, so we had people just walking in like, "What is that?" and coming to check it out. So I was so excited about that. Our food styles, since it's like you said, it's not mainstream, it's not as common, we do struggle a little bit, just because people are like, well, what's okonomiyaki? I can't even say it. What is it? So daily we're explaining to people, oh, well, this is what this is, yakisoba, stir fried noodles, and karaage is like Japanese style fried chicken. And usually once we start explaining, we can get them to at least try something.
Yeah.
So that's our biggest challenge, is people not being familiar with the style.
Yeah. But I guess it's also your USP is that it's totally unique.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting. Okay, so we are coming up to the end of our interview, but I would like to ask you the same question that I end all of my interviews with. And that is, if I could give you $1 million to travel anywhere in the world except for Japan to eat Japanese food, where would you go and why?
It's hard, yeah. Anywhere in the world to eat Japanese food except here. Maybe Brazil?
Uh-huh. And why would you choose Brazil?
Brazil has a very large Japanese populace, right? Like a lot of mixed. So I think it would be really interesting to see what the Brazilian Japanese fusion could bring to the table. And like really, I think that would be a really awesome.
Yeah, I am super interested in that too. I'm desperately trying to find somebody in Brazil to talk about.
Actually, you know what? I have
Yeah.
a Japanese chef friend who works for Nobu in Brazil. I'll send you the stuff. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, thank you for both being an interviewee and also setting me up.
I'm sorry.
No, that's amazing. Thank you so much. But thank you so much, Brittany, for sharing about Japanese food in Las Vegas and about your business. It sounds so delicious. I wish I could be there and try Japanese chimichanga. I might try it at home, but what I will definitely try is your dad's shoyu onions on cream cheese bread. That sounds so delicious.
Yes,
So
let me know.
well. So thanks so much for your time, and best of luck with Matsuri through the pandemic and after. I'm so excited that you've opened up and you're sharing festival food with the world.
Thanks so much for having me. It was such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks.